In a quiet village deep in Africa, people spoke of a place that only appeared under the full moon. It was called the Midnight Market. Nobody knew exactly where it was, but many had stories to tell. Some said it was hidden in the forest, others swore it appeared in the middle of the desert. The stories all agreed on one thing: the market sold treasures beyond imagination. But every treasure came with a curse. Kweku, a young man of 25, had heard these stories from his grandmother. She would always warn him, "Kweku, do not let curiosity guide your steps. The midnight market is not a place for men with soft hearts." But Kweku was not afraid. Life in the village was hard, and he often dreamt of a better future. His farm barely provided enough food, and the little money he earned wasn't enough to marry Alma, the girl he loved. So, when he overheard two hunters whispering about the market during the last full moon, his heart raced. "They say it will appear tonight, just beyond the river," one of them said. But who would dare go there? Kweku decided he would. That night, the full moon shone bright like a silver plate in the sky. Kweku waited until everyone in the village was asleep. He grabbed a small knife, a lantern, and a pouch of coins before setting off into the darkness. The forest was alive with strange sounds. Owls hooted, crickets chirped, and the wind carried whispers that made Kweku's skin crawl. But he pressed on, guided by the hunter's directions. After what felt like hours, he saw a faint glow ahead. As he got closer, he realized it wasn't the moonlight, it was something else. The glow came from hundreds of lanterns, each flickering with an otherworldly light. And then he saw it. It was unlike anything Kweku had ever seen. Stalls made of bones and gold lined a twisting path. Merchants with strange faces, some human, some not, called out to him, their voices sweet and tempting. "Come, young man, see my wares," one said, his eyes glowing like embers. "Jewels that shine brighter than the stars," cried another, holding up a necklace that sparkled in the moonlight. Kweku's heart pounded, but he forced himself to stay calm. He had come for treasure, but he knew the stories. He had to choose carefully. At one stall, an old woman with skin as dark as the night and eyes like fire smiled at him. "Ah, young one," she said. "You seek something special, yes?" Kweku nodded. "I need something that will bring me wealth." The old woman reached under her stall and pulled out a golden mask. It was beautiful, with intricate designs carved into the metal. "This mask," she said, "will make you rich beyond your wildest dreams. Wear it, and gold will pour into your hands." Kweku's eyes widened. "How much?" The old woman leaned closer. "Only 1 coin. But beware, everything has a price." He hesitated. The mask was too good to be true. But the thought of gold was too tempting. He handed her a coin and took the mask. "Remember," the old woman said as he walked away. "The mask will only give what it takes." Kweku returned to his village just before dawn. He couldn't wait to try the mask. In the privacy of his small hut, he put it on. At first, nothing happened. Then, to his amazement, gold coins began falling from the air, landing at his feet. He laughed and danced, scooping up the coins. But then he felt a sharp pain in his chest. He ripped off the mask, gasping for air. The pain stopped, but he noticed something strange. His reflection in the mirror looked pale, almost sickly. Over the next few days, Kweku used the mask sparingly. Each time he wore it, more gold appeared. But each time, he felt weaker. His skin grew paler, his eyes sunken. Alma noticed the change and asked, "Kweku, are you well?" "I'm fine," he lied, hiding the mask. One night, As Kweku sat surrounded by piles of gold, he realized the truth. The mask wasn't just giving him wealth, it was taking his life. Every coin it produced came at the cost of his strength, his health, his soul. Desperate, he decided to return to the market. He needed to find the old woman and undo the curse. Under the next full moon, Kweku made his way back to the forest. The journey was harder this time. His body was weak, and his breath came in short gasps. But he was determined. When he reached the market, it was as eerie and magical as before. The merchants smiled as he passed, their eyes glinting with mischief. He found the old woman at her stall, just as he had before. "You," he said, his voice trembling. "You cursed me." She smiled. "I warned you, young one. The mask gives what it takes. Take it back," he pleaded, holding out the mask. The old woman shook her head. "The curse cannot be undone. But you can pass it on." "What do you mean?" Kweku asked, dreading the answer. "Give the mask to someone else," she said. "Let them bear its burden." Kweku stared at the old woman, horrified. "Pass it on. You want me to curse someone else?" She nodded. "It is the only way. Or you can keep it and let it take all of you. The choice is yours." Kweku clutched the mask tightly, his thoughts racing. He didn't want to hurt anyone, but he also didn't want to die. He left the market without another word, the old woman's laughter echoing behind him. Back in the village, Kweku tried to live with the curse. He avoided the mask for days, but the gold he'd already gathered began to run out. Without it, he had nothing. The villagers started asking questions about his sudden wealth, and Amma grew suspicious. One evening, she confronted him. "Kweku, where did all this gold come from? What are you hiding?" He hesitated, then lied. "I found it in the forest." Amma didn't believe him. "You're not well. Look at you. You're thinner every day, and your eyes, they're full of shadows." Kweku turned away, unable to face her. He wanted to tell her the truth, but how could he explain the mask? How could he admit the curse he carried? As the days passed, Kweku grew weaker. His hands trembled, and he could barely eat. The mask seemed to call to him, whispering promises of gold and power. He knew he couldn't go on like this. Late one night, he made a decision. If he couldn't undo the curse, he would give the mask to someone who deserved it, a greedy man who wouldn't hesitate to take the treasure. He thought of Kwame, a rich trader from the neighboring village. Kwame was known for his selfishness and cruelty, often cheating others to grow his fortune. If anyone deserved the mask, it was him. Kweku visited Kwame under the pretense of friendship. He brought the mask wrapped in cloth and told Kwame it was a gift. "This mask is no ordinary treasure," Kweku said. "It will bring you more gold than you can imagine. But you must promise to keep it safe." Kwame's eyes lit up at the sight of the golden mask. "More gold, you say? This is a fine gift, my friend. I will treasure it." Kweku forced a smile and left quickly, his heart heavy with guilt. Kwame wasted no time testing the mask. That night, he put it on and watched in amazement as gold coins spilled from the air. He laughed and clapped his hands, already planning how he would spend his newfound wealth. But just as Kweku had experienced, the mask demanded a price. After a week, Kwame's servants noticed he looked pale and tired. He dismissed their concerns, too focused on his growing piles of gold to care. By the second week, Kwame could barely stand. His once strong voice was weak, and his body seemed to wither before their eyes. Panic set in, but it was too late. The mask had taken too much from him. Word of Kwame's fate spread quickly. When Kweku heard the news, he felt both relief and shame. He had rid himself of the curse, but at what cost? He avoided the neighboring village, afraid of being recognized. In time, Kwame's death became a warning. The villagers spoke of the cursed mask and how greed had led to his downfall. Nobody dared search for the mask, fearing its power. Months passed, and Kweku tried to move on. His health returned, and he began to rebuild his life. But the guilt never left him. He avoided armor, too ashamed to face her. One night, under another full moon, Kweku felt a strange pull. It was as if something deep inside him was calling. He knew what it was: the midnight market. Against his better judgment, he followed the pull back to the forest. The market appeared just as it had before, glowing with eerie light. This time, the merchants greeted him with knowing smiles. "You've returned," the old woman said, her fiery eyes glinting. "Why?" Kweku hesitated. "I want to destroy the mask. It has caused too much pain." The old woman laughed. "Destroy it? That is not possible. The mask is older than you can imagine. It is bound to the market, just as you are now." "What do you mean?" Kweku asked, fear creeping into his voice. She leaned closer. "You passed on the curse, but the market remembers. Once you've dealt with its treasures, it will always find you." Kweku realized he was trapped. No matter how far he ran or how hard he tried to forget, the market would always return. And each time, it would offer him another treasure, another curse. Desperate, he tried to leave the market, but the path back to the village was gone. The merchants surrounded him, their eyes glowing in the moonlight. "You cannot escape," the old woman said. "The midnight market is your home now." Kweku's heart sank as he understood the truth. He was no longer just a visitor, he was part of the market. And like the cursed treasures it sold, he would remain there, waiting for the next curious soul to stumble upon its glowing lanterns. Back in the village, people whispered about Kweku's disappearance. Some said he had gone mad, chasing after gold that didn't exist. Others believed he had been taken by spirits. But on nights when the full moon lit up the sky, a faint glow could be seen beyond the river. And those brave enough to follow it claimed to see a young man standing among the stalls, his face pale and his eyes full of sorrow. He would smile and beckon them closer, offering treasures beyond imagination. But every treasure, they said, came with a curse. Answer: the midnight market continued, its legend growing with each passing moon.